I'll always say if you're not going to compromise, if you're going to get married or get any type of relationship, and you're not a person who wants to compromise, you're wasting your time and you're wasting the other person's time.
Hello somebodies, thank you for coming back to the channel. I am your host, Mr. Mafuchi, and with me as always is my co-host, someone that always remembers and rarely forgives. He's your ninja and mine. Here's Jay.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
So, on today's show, if you read the thumbnail, unless you're illiterate, then my bad. Somebody's, I'm talking about compromising. And this is me, the narcissist, saying this. Now, somebody's, I'll give you the Vegas odds as to how this episode will end up. So I'm going to go right to my co-host Jay and bring up a quick question, which is, Jay, on your end, where do you rank compromising? I mean, is it top 5, top 10? Is it low? Is it top 20? What's going on there, Jay?
So I wrote this down, okay? So I wouldn't forget. So I do have it in my top 5, okay?
All right.
So as far as mine goes, right? I have taking care of your kids. So how do you want to take care of the kids? How do you want to raise them? Pick them up from school, making dinner, lunch, whatever, stuff like that, right? And then I have conflict resolution. So that is a big thing when it comes to being in a relationship, especially a marriage, is conflict resolution. 3 on my list is the actual compromising, because there's things I want, there's things my wife wants, and depending on what it is, we'll just say, okay, we'll go with it, and the next time we'll do what you want to do, type of thing. And then my last thing I have is like taking care of the household. So it's like, who wants to do what? Are we going to share responsibilities? Is someone going to do this particular thing all the time or not? Stuff like that. So that would be like my initial list. I probably have more, but that's what I came up with when I started writing this stuff down.
Wow.
So, Mr. Mafuchi, is compromising in your top 5, top 10? What about yourself?
Well, of course, for people that have been watching our show, I am the narcissist here. So, believe it or not, compromise to me was just top 10 because I felt, okay, anything I want to do my way, it's the best way, let's do it. But after so many years of being married and my wife, at some points, I would listen to what she would say about this topic. It has become top 3 for me because it makes sense. Again, I have to really try and figure out how to love her. I'm not going to say just as much. I'm going to be realistic. Almost as much as I love myself, and just meet halfway and be able to say, okay, I want this. She wants this. We have to somehow meet in the middle, and I have to shut my mouth and not try to get my way. So I really, it's number 2 right now. You have to figure out how to come together, and like you said, hey, maybe we'll do it this way this time for her, maybe we'll do it this way this time for me. That's just how it goes in a marriage. You have to figure out how to work together.
All right, Mr. Mafuji, we both have kids, right? So when it came to naming the kids, what was your guys' process of naming the kids? I can answer this first. Since we have 3 kids, right? My daughter was the firstborn. And I already had a name in mind that I wanted to use. My wife had her own name in mind that she wanted to use, which is fine. But I wanted to give the name I came up with be her first name. And my wife was not having that. So we had to compromise of what to do for this situation, right? Granted, the name she picked, I didn't like it at first, honestly. I really didn't. It took a while to grow on me. I don't know if I told her that, but if I didn't, sorry, honey. But yeah. So, but it ended up working out because her first name, middle name, and last name all works together very well. So that works. So when we start to have the next child we have, you can name him or her that, the first name, and we'll go from there. I said, okay, fine. So when we had our second child, which is our oldest son, I gave him his name, and she gave him his middle name, and then that goes together as well. So when it came to our last child, same thing. She will name his first name, I will name the middle name, and the names seem to go together as well with the other two. So that was our process of coming up with the name. So I say I had to compromise on that one because I really wanted my daughter to be her middle name. I wanted to be her first name, and that was not the way that was going to go. So since I wasn't carrying her for 9 months, I didn't have to give birth to her. I had to concede and let her have that one. So what was your guys' situation like when it comes to naming your children?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Jay. The one thing is, they will always use that against us. Well, who carried the child? That's right. Talk to the hand, that kind of situation. They'll always have that on us. But now, when it came to naming the kids, in this situation, with our firstborn, I had 2 boys because I went in deep both times. So, with the first boy, my mom got involved because she got very sentimental about it, and there was a name that my mom wanted to name me, but the way my birth went is my mom was in the hospital, and once I popped out, then my dad got to give me my entire name, and she had no say in it whatsoever, which I'm sure the ladies are not about whatsoever. But yeah, so in this case, my mom always had this name for me, but now she really was pushing to have that name for our firstborn, my wife and I. And my wife, she had other names, and she did not poo-poo the name that my mom had. But then after a while, even I'm like, you know what, that's kind of a good name, that would work. And maybe I would say to my wife, you want to give him the middle name, so we can go that way. And reluctantly, my wife finally said, okay, you know what, this is fine, it'll work out, and your mom can name our first son the name that she wanted to name you. So we got that one for the first, and the second one, I said, okay, you get to name this one if it's a boy. If it's a girl, then I get to name it. That's just how it went. I'm not going to explain it, that's just how it went, somebody's, okay? But it turned out to be another boy, and this was just silly because we were talking about movies, and then there was a certain movie that came out that year, and we're like, you know what, that we could just name it that. I just threw that name out there jokingly, and then a couple of days later, my wife was like, you know what, I can't get that name out of my head. It would sound good for another boy. So ironically, I named my other son. So my wife had no say in naming either of our children by their first name. And we never got to the third because the third just would have been all her, but we never got to that point. So she had to compromise. I don't even know if that was a compromise because she didn't get anything. I mean, she got the middle name for her first. So it sucks to say that she had to eat crow on that one. I'm sorry, honey. It's just the way the ball bounced for our first 2 children. That's just the way it was. And for all you somebody's watching, let us know in the comments, what was the compromise for the names? Was it you? Was it your partner? How did it go in that situation? So now we know for Jay and I how it went. Jay, do you remember what are the things that you had to compromise from your single life once you got with your significant other?
See, the thing that comes to mind for me is watching TV. Before all the streaming platforms came to be about, and when we got married, we lived together, started living together, we had one TV. So we had to compromise who's going to watch what and when and stuff like that. So, Sundays is football day for me. I'm watching football all day long, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she's not really big on watching TV anyway. So it was more of like, okay, I can go ahead and watch my football. But then it's like, as we start to have kids and things of that nature, when it came to, I was always like a big TV watcher. I'm not so much anymore because everything you can watch on your phone anyway. So now it's more like, sometimes, okay, if I don't want to go in the office or I don't want to watch it on my phone, I actually want to watch it on TV. Like, are you watching anything? Can I sit and watch football? Because I can watch it from the first game to the night game, and I'm good to go. But if she wants to watch something, she's like, yeah, I think I'm gonna watch something today. I'm like, cool. I'll either go on my phone or go downstairs into the office and watch it on my computer.
Well, the number one thing that comes to mind, Jay, is I was not allowed to date anybody else anymore, so we just had to cut that off right away. So that's apparently that's an automatic thing. I didn't know at the time, but I did stop because I did love her. So I have to say that, if I know you're watching, so I stopped it, and I stopped it. An interesting one is my wife has a very strong smell, so when it comes to cooking, I was not able to cook as much anymore because she has this with her nose. She has to be the one in control of the cooking. Then she can tolerate it. But if somebody else cooks, it's not going to go well. So my cooking lessened and lessened, which I'm like, all right. I mean, I like that my wife cooks, and she cooks a lot of great food, so that is the plus side. But now I can't just pick up and cook something, at least without letting her know, so she's not surprised. She doesn't like that. That's the other thing to compromise in that aspect.
All right, Mr. Mafuchi. So, when it comes to buying a house, right? What was your guys' thought process as far as getting a house? Did you want a house? Did she want a house? Or were you guys fine living in an apartment or anything like that? So I can go ahead and answer this first. My dad was the one who suggested that we buy a house. I'm thinking to myself, we don't have the leap in money to get a house, especially in the state that we live in, right? So he was like, getting a house is more important, and you're not wasting your money by throwing your money away by living in an apartment. And granted, in that time, apartments were a lot cheaper than they are right now.
Yeah.
So he was like, I'll give you guys the money, upfront money, to put the down payment down. You guys just take care of the mortgage. Buying a house is a headache. Anyone who's bought a house, they'll know it's a headache. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot, right? So the first place we saw, I don't know why she thought we would even go for it, honestly. And then she ended up telling us, it was a test. I said, son of a bitch, right? I said, hold up. Yeah, you testing people? Like, what the? There was one we saw we liked, and we thought, I'm thinking, this is my process for buying a house, right? Buying a house we can resell. So that's my thing right now, right? I'm like, if we buy this house, we should be able to resell this house. So that was my process, right? When my wife and I, we were kind of in sync on this when it comes to the housing thing right here. We both saw it. I think I got there first and she came after work. I was like, I think this is the one, right? And then we walked to the back. But this house was remodeled because it was abandoned for a while. So this is a little bit of a remodel. So we went to the back of the house, talked about it. It was like, yeah, this is the one. So we were going to put in an offer. So we ended up putting in an offer, and they accepted it. And it was very cheap, I'm going to say. And like, just based on the area and the city and the state that we lived in, right? The second time the one house we're living in right now, that wasn't as big as a process. The only thing we went through was we wanted to sell the house, get the money from that house to put down on this house. That was the issue. Because we had some people who were interested in the last house, we wanted to sell it. But then it was like, we want this, we want that, we want this. I'm like, really? Come on now. Next time we move into a house, we want this, that, and the other, right? So it has everything that we want. Only thing is, it's not close to her family, so we moved like an hour away. With traffic, an hour and a half away, right? So if anyone wants to come visit us, you got to make a plan to come visit us, because you're not going to come out here, like, it's not a 30-minute drive. Just going to tell you like that. Buying a house is a headache. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's a lot. People all up in your business, asking you all these questions, how much money you make, how much kind of debt you're in, what's your credit score. It's a lot. So What about you guys? When it came to getting a house, did you guys want a house? Did you rather be in an apartment? What was your guys' process?
All right, Jay. So I'm glad you turned it to me. When it came to our housing, at the time, we were renting out a house, and it wasn't the best area or neighborhood, but it's what we could afford. You go from there. And when I first met my wife, I was already renting a house, and I told myself at that point, in life, I don't want to go backwards, so I didn't want to go back to an apartment. I want to continue moving forward, so I was already in the house. Then we moved to another house to rent. And then at some point, when we had our second child, it was only a 2-bedroom house, so we wanted our second child to have his own room at some point. So we realized, okay, what do we do here? Do we look for another place to rent, or do we buy? And if so, I mean, we may want to look at a place that's safer than where we are, because that wasn't the safest place. And whenever you're not in a good area, unfortunately, the school system follows that it's not the best system. So now we have to be parents. We have to try to do the best we can. All of us here. I mean, in the comments, parents, let us know. You look for your child and what's best for them. So now I'm thinking, all right, what are our finances? What could we do here? And is this possible at the time? Now, I had something similar to you, Jay, where your dad helped you out with the down payment. Well, my wife's grandma, she's into real estate here and there, and she heard about our plight, I guess, at the time that we were thinking about moving. And her grandma and I talked separately first about, okay, if you guys find the place, then I will help you out. I'm like, okay, that helps a lot. Thank you. So as that happened, my wife wanted to find the house. It's just something about her. She's like, okay, since we're going to move forward, since I'm going to be here more because you leave because of your job, I want to be able to pick out the house more so, and then you just let me know. But it turns out while we were looking, and I was looking, I found something on the app Zillow, and I'm like, oh, this is good, and this is within our price range. So I went ahead first to go take a look at it, and I told my wife about 30 minutes later, hey, why don't you come meet me for this property, and then we could both view it. And she wasn't crazy about that because, like I said, she wanted to be able to pick it out. But yeah, she met me there. We took a walk through, and to my surprise and delight, she very much enjoyed the house. Now, the thing that always sticks out in my head is that she said this to the realtor, and I even told her prior, do not let on if you like it, saying that you like it, because then the realtor's gonna try to finesse themselves into getting a little more. But nonetheless, I was able to squash that, like say, yeah, she likes it, okay, but you're gonna deal with me. So that I let her know, don't do that again. We don't do that, all right? So I take great joy in being able to pick the house that we did, and then I spoke to her grandma, and she took care of all that. So it did make it a smoother process, Jay, like you said. So this is the home that we're at now, and it's worked out well. So it's nice, but it is a headache now, because with renting, you have a landlord and they take care of the big things, more so repairs and whatnot. Now you are getting into, oh, property taxes. Oh, something breaks. Hey, you fix it. So that becomes a headache as a homeowner. Now, yes, you get the tax break. Great. I mean, it gives you a little more, but it's really the things you have to weigh in with your options. But we enjoy our home. Nobody tells us what to do. In the sense, we still like, it's a HOA, a very light HOA, to where we're not allowed to do what we want in our backyard. That's the only downfall. But otherwise, it works out well. At the end of the day, my wife finally was able to compromise and say, okay, you found it. I give you your applause. I'll praise you. So she had to compromise by saying, you found the house that I wanted. So kudos to you, husband. You did something right for once. And she really did say that. So
But also it's not like I had to give the money back to my dad, right? So he said, when you guys get your tax returns, whatever case like that, just give me a little bit year by year until you guys pay me back. So it's like, it wasn't like it's a gift and like we keep it type of thing. It's like we had to give the money back. And it's not a big deal or anything, but like it wasn't like a free gift. We did have to pay him back for the down payment.
Thank you for bringing that up, Jay, that we are also paying Grandma back, okay? It's not like we got a free, generous donation to the house. No, we're paying her back, but at least we didn't have to go through a middleman, through a bank, a financier. No, she's our financier. We pay her back just to let it be known. So again, Jay, thank you for bringing that up for people that are thinking, oh, these guys got a free home. No, we didn't. We did not get that, all right? We are paying people back. We are paying family members back. So that's the situation here. No free home. Now, there's something else that I think Jay will definitely relate to. I am the person, and this is something near and dear to my heart. How do you compromise finances, Jay? Who buys what?
Oh, in our household, right? When it comes to groceries, bills, and buying stuff for the kids, we split everything down the middle. So anything household related, kids related, we split everything down the middle. As far as individual stuff, we pay for whatever we want separately. When we did the rest of the front yard, I was like, I asked the guy about the turf, right? I mean, the putting ground. I said, how much would that cost? He gave me the price. I was like, okay, we can probably do that, soon, right? After the other part is done. She's like, well, if you want. 'Cause I told her how much everything was going to cost with or without the putting green, right? She's like, we can just get it all done because I know you want it, right? I was like, oh my God, thank you. Right? So she knew how much I wanted that, and we talked about the price and the breaking down and stuff like that. So end up getting the rest of the front yard done and then the putting green as well. So I was like, cool. So I know I'm gonna owe her somewhere down the line something that she wants to do, right? Because she end up, letting me get the turf. So how does the finances work in your house when it comes to paying for all the stuff and things you guys want to do?
Now, before I answer the question, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, Jay, but I'm also going to put it in the comments. For all of you in the comments, once Jay gets this project done, if you want to see video of him with his putting green, please let us know. That way, Jay already knows he's going to have to film himself at some point. Please, all of you in the comments, put you want to see that because I want to see that. Now, to answer the question, a long time ago, when my wife and I met and we were having our first child, I realized that I had a job. I was the one who was making more money. So my wife and I came to a decision, an understanding, a compromise that, okay, for right now, and hopefully it continues to be the thing, I'll go to work and make all the money, and you stay at home and take care of the kids and take care of the house. So in my household, I make all the money. I pay everything, and I also save to be able to do things with the family. So this dynamic has worked out for 10 plus years, and thankfully, I've still have been able to have my job provide for us. So it's pretty quick and simple. I'm the earner. I decide where everything goes, and I pay for everything, which does come with its ups and downs, of course, pressure of making sure you pay everything off, but also having the freedom to say, hey, I don't have to ask anybody for money. And I know I'm gonna look at my wife. I'm sorry, okay? I know you do, but this is how we have our dynamic, and I love that you're able to stay home and take care of our kids because you're doing a great job, and I couldn't think of anyone better to do so, and that's our dynamic. So pretty easy there, Jay.
Is there ever a point in time where she wants to go back to work at all?
No, not at this point. Primarily because we have a special needs child, so that takes up pretty much all the time, because we don't. It sucks to say, in this day and age, there's so many things that are happening when you leave kids at daycare, and more so with special needs kids. And our son is still nonverbal in the sense that he's not able to say exactly what he wants with words. He says the things that he likes and he needs and wants, but not everything. So we're not leaving it to chance. We would rather keep it as is. So that kind of negates that process for her to be able to go back to work. And we don't have anyone here, family members or friends close by, that we could even trust to take care of our son. So that's out of the question at this point. So that's the answer to that. There's something that we do for the channel here, and that is we work remotely from the show. We're not in the same location, so we need to take time away from our family. So Jay, as of right now, how does it go with the family? Are they always okay with compromising your time? Or maybe every now and again they're like, hey, what's the deal? Is this always going to be how it goes?
No, I don't think they mind. My wife, she's usually reading a book or something like that, depending on what day we're actually filming. So, like, she has her thing where she likes to do this double dutch thing, right? So that's her, like, her outlet. Like, so I take it as, okay, this is like my double dutch thing that,
Right.
if you want to compare it to that. So it's like, she doesn't mind, especially where it's like something I actually want to do, because it's something I like talking about. It's like, I do like talking about relationships. I do like talking about marriage. For my kids, they don't care. Honestly, they don't. If they got their devices, they are happy.
Yeah, Jay, I'm glad you said this is your double Dutch, but I'm not Dutch. I'm Mexican. So to answer that, I think the one that is always curious more so is my youngest son, because he wants to be around me, but I have to close my door. I have to prop it so he doesn't come in the room. But otherwise, my wife is very supportive of this venture. And just like with your kids, my oldest, he's got his console and he plays with his friends, so it's fine. Like, he sees me when he sees me. So as of right now, everything is good, she knows sometimes it could run long because I let her know, hey, not only are we filming and recording, but we're also talking about other things for the future or what's going to happen. So I'm glad on both our ends we have the support of our families, and more so the kids not even knowing or even caring if we're around. I'm sure at some point when they're hungry or they need money, that's when they'll definitely want us around. But yeah, everything is good for now, being able to do the show remotely and not worrying about our families and not being okay with it, because they are. So Jay, when it comes to this, let's really dive deep. Let's get your wisdom involved, because you've been married the longest, known your partner the longest. So what would you say for the wisdom for all of us? What is it about compromise? Where do you stand with it besides everything else you've already spewed out?
This one I feel is pretty simple, because eventually there's going to be things that you want that your partner does not want, and vice versa. So I would say compromise is a really big deal. So if you're in any type of relationship, friendship, whatever, there's going to be some compromise that comes into play somewhere. Even like at your jobs, you don't always do stuff you want to do. You have to compromise because you want a paycheck.
Yeah.
Same thing with marriage. It's like, you want some sexy time, you're gonna need to compromise. So it's like, eventually you're not gonna always get everything you want. Look at the 80-20 rule. That's how I look at it. 80-20 rule. You're not gonna get everything you want. So like, in my case with the turf, my wife was like, okay, go ahead and get it because I know you want it, type of thing, right? So it was like, she didn't have to do that. She could say, well, no, let's wait, let's budget until we get to that part later. She's like, no, we can do that right now. It's like, we don't have to wait for that. We have the money to do it, so let's go ahead and do it.
Right.
So that was a compromise on her end that she didn't have to do. So, but she knew how much I wanted it. So I'd always say, if you're not going to compromise, if you're going to get married or get any type of relationship, and you're not a person who wants to compromise, you're wasting your time and you're wasting the other person's time.
Yeah, Jay, that's for certain. I mean, on my end, I will put my 2 cents, which is I am a narcissist. Having to realize that I'm not going to get to do everything I want anymore, and because somebody else is involved, that is definitely something I had to come to grips with. That, I can't just pick up and go anymore. I have somebody else that says, well, maybe not this right now, or maybe we could do it another time, or maybe if this is impossible, we could do something that I want. That took a while. It took a while to register. Okay, I'm going to be real with you. This is and sometimes I still have that mentality like, okay, I can go and do this, and then I see my wife like, no, I can't do that. She's the other person. So compromise is important, but I'll say this: it makes it much easier if you're with a good partner, especially if you're married. You're gonna be with that person forever, essentially, or until one keels over. So with compromise, if it doesn't work with the person you're with, that probably should be a red flag, and more so on your end, because if you're not willing to compromise for that person, it's probably more so you. But of course the other way, if they just don't want to compromise to do all the things, I mean, you get it. Compromise is just gonna happen. You have to figure out the middle ground. That's marriage. That's life. You want it successfully, figure out how to make it work. You gotta meet in the middle. That's the key term here. So with that said, we will conclude this show. Thank you so much to all of you for watching, and see, you have made it this far. Tell you what, even Jay can agree with this. How about a like or a subscribe? Or hey, let's get crazy. How about both? So, and also, if there are topics that you would like for us to talk about, as always, it's in the comment section. Put anything you want in there that you'd like us to talk about. Or even if you want Jay to talk about it more, or me talk about it. We are here for you. We are definitely ready, willing, and able to talk about almost anything. I say that because some of this stuff we have to get clear with our wives. That's the one thing that we don't say. So Jay, it just got real. We involve our wives. But with that said, thank you so much for watching the entire show. For my co-host Jay, I'm Mr. Mafuchi. We will see you next time.
Later, everybody.